And that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court.
And today we commit that our goal is this: zero. Our goal is 0 deaths.
I think this might not be the greatest idea, but who am I to judge?
The president goes on yesterday to further diminish the value, the intent, everything about minorities. The people that are qualified to do their job, he continued to diminish them yesterday. We got into that yesterday, so I'm not going to talk about it a ton today, but also Jesse Waters and the anti-work community movement. Holy cow, what is going on this morning? All that and more. Some great stuff coming up on a Friday, heading into the weekend. We're going to have some fun today. All that and more coming up on Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from a dingy bunker completely cut off from the outside world except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. Today it is January 28th, the year of our Lord 2022. Joe Biden said yesterday the things that we said yesterday that he was going to say, but then he said it after we got off the air, so we didn't get to it. Now we're going to get to it today regarding the Supreme Court and black women who apparently need some sort of special treatment, according to the president. So there's that. We'll talk about maybe the discussion of Kamala Harris. Is that going to be a thing? Is she going to be a Supreme Court justice? Maybe, probably not. Pete Buttigieg says some really interesting things about the transportation secretary. Setting some bars pretty dang high, which I thought was interesting. And also, holy cow, if you have time to stick around, you need to be here for the anti-work community segment. Anti-work? What the heck is that? Yeah, no, it's real, it's hilarious, and we've got some great clips from Jesse Waters yesterday regarding the anti-work community. So check this out. We talked about this yesterday. Don't want to go into it super at length today because I feel like I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But yesterday we were talking about Jen Psaki saying, so set this up. Justice Breyer is retiring, liberal court justice appointed by Clinton in the 90s. He's retiring. Joe Biden then gets to appoint a Supreme Court justice on the campaign trail when he needed to win South Carolina to revive his dead presidential campaign. We all think he made a deal with James Clyburn to say, hey, I'll give you South Carolina if you promise to say that you're going to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court. So that's what Joe Biden did. Jen Psaki 2 days ago said that he's going to honor that promise. Yesterday, we talked about how bad that is for black women and people in general. And then yesterday, after we got off the show, Joe Biden came out and said exactly that. So I'm going to play this clip from the president and maybe recap a little bit why this is just bad for minorities in general, especially qualified ones. But we'll play this clip really quick. Before that, if you haven't already, click the little like button, click the little share button. Again, it really, really helps us out, stay on the air doing what we're doing. It gets us to more people and obviously helps us keep the ball rolling. So if you wouldn't mind, it doesn't cost you anything. Just click the little like button, click the little share button. Would really appreciate it. Without further ado, here's Mr. Biden.
Our process is going to be rigorous. I will select a nominee worthy of Justice Breyer's legacy of excellence and decency. While I've been studying candidates' backgrounds and writings, I've made no decision except one. The person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity.
And what?
And that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. It's long overdue in my view.
Dumb. See in the comments, we're getting a lot of "Let's go, Brandon." Edith says, "Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon." Mark, let's go, Brandon. But this is what I was talking about yesterday. Susan says, "Talk about racist. Just pick the most qualified person for the job. Who cares what race or gender they are?" Yeah, that's exactly my sentiment. And again, not to beat a dead horse from yesterday, but the problem that the president did is he just destroyed the credibility of all of the well-qualified black women for that job. Because here's the thing nowadays. Now, everybody, especially the people who don't like the president's choice, is now going to question that person's validity. They're never going to be able to shake it. He's going to nominate a black woman, but because he announced that he was going to do so already, he just destroyed their credibility. That's just the reality of the situation. And that is why him announcing that is terrible. Not to mention, and we talked about this yesterday too, not to mention you're just completely disregarding all of the other qualified candidates from all of the other quote unquote minority groups. You're not going to look at Asians at all. You're not going to look at Hispanics at all. You're not going to look at the gay community at all. None of those. Those would also be firsts in the Supreme Court. But again, I don't care about first. The president seems to, for some reason, and by announcing that he's going to pick a black woman, he is ruining her credibility and making everybody's going to question, well, is she qualified? Does she have the right chops for the job? And it's possible that she does. Just so you know, I think there are black women in this country that are insanely smart and well-deserving of a Supreme Court seat. But when you say you're only going to pick from that community, now they're never going to be able to shake the questioning of, well, did he pick her because she was the best, or did he pick her because she was a black woman and he had to fit some sort of diversity quota into his mix? So again, not going to get super into that. I'm looking at a lot of these comments. Discrimination in reverse, says Rebecca. Yeah, a lot of people are on the same page here. Like, this is the big problem. Yeah, whatever. What about the first Asian woman? I don't know. Why? Like, what? Why? I can go on and on and on for this. It honestly is a tragedy especially for the qualified black women around the country that would be well deserving of this seat. But I'm not going to belabor this too much. I want to get to this. This is a clip from Pete Buttigieg. He's the transportation secretary. This is more of a cultural thing, right? We've got a rhetoric problem here in the United States, and goals being set astronomically high. Pete Buttigieg trying to make it onto the scene. He's running for president probably in 2024. I think he's going to run against Kamala. But he's out there saying some ridiculous things, setting the bar ridiculously high. Actually, hold on, Jonathan. Condoleezza Rice. Hey, maybe President Biden will reach across the aisle and appoint the first black woman Supreme Court justice in Condoleezza Rice. I wouldn't mind that at all. But of course, he won't do that. Actually, you know what? I want to go back to this really quick because there's some talk, and I want to just discuss this a little bit. Maybe let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Here it is. Somebody commented it right here. Plans are for Kamala to be a Supreme Court judge and Pelosi moves up to VP. I'm not entirely sure about that, Sonia, but there is some talk about Kamala Harris being moved out of the vice presidential seat because of how scared top Democrats are for the 2024 election. Obviously, President Biden is, one, ancient. He is 1,000 years old. And two, his approval rating is terrible. So guess what? In 2024, the natural occurrence would be to have the vice president run for president, except for Kamala Harris is also terrible in the polls. Nobody likes her. Remember, Kamala Harris ran for president and didn't even make it to Iowa. Democrats did not like Kamala Harris. So top Democrats are super scared about Kamala Harris running in 2024. So there's some speculation that Joe Biden just appoints Kamala Harris to the Supreme Court of the United States, which would be weird, and then appoints a new vice president that then could run for president in 2024. Some people say Nancy Pelosi. I don't think that's legitimate. Some people say Hillary Clinton. That would be honestly hilarious. I think it would be very entertaining for a 2024 race if the vice president were to run for president. I think the chances of that happening is about zero, especially because of how embarrassing it would be to Kamala Harris to be moved off of the vice presidential ticket and onto the Supreme Court. Even though being on the Supreme Court, I would rather be on the Supreme Court than the White House and the vice presidential office, but it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Let me get back to this. Pete Buttigieg sets an insanely high bar. Listen to this. Pete Buttigieg, transportation secretary, playing into the overheated, not even the overheated rhetoric in terms of like nastiness against people, but just the overinflated sense of ability of the federal government of the United States. Watch this.
Another thing that it's going to take in order to change the trajectory of roadway safety in this country is a single, ambitious, shared goal. And today we commit that our goal is this: zero. Our goal is 0 deaths. A country where one day nobody has to say goodbye to a loved one because of a traffic crash.
Okay, so good thing? Would it be great if nobody ever died of a traffic crash? Absolutely. That would be awesome. Is it possible? No. And here's the thing. He knows it's not possible. So there's a couple things that could happen here. When we do have one death of a traffic crash, and again, it's terrible. I don't want this to happen. I'm not rooting for people to die in car accidents. People drive to work every day. I worry about my family every single day driving around. It's a thing that happens. But getting out there and saying our goal is 0 car accidents ever, what does that do to your credibility if you're going to institute something that actually makes sense? Again, Peter Buttigieg, Transportation Secretary, saying that there should be no car accidents ever. So the first things first is if somebody does unfortunately pass away in a car accident in Pete Buttigieg's lofty goals, do we get to say, hey, you failed to meet your highest standard and therefore are a failure as a transportation secretary, which would hurt him a lot when he runs for president in 2024? Or do we look at this and go, okay, so his goal is literally impossible, and where is that permeating to other facets of the federal government, setting these goals that are absolutely non-reachable and therefore getting to exert power until they are reached? Hashtag COVID, hashtag government overreach. This is the problem that I have with Pete Buttigieg saying this. Again, it would be great if nobody ever got killed in a car accident, but the likelihood of that is absolutely 0, so maybe we shouldn't even entertain it. Okay, for those of you watching, you need to hear this story. It is so tasty and so good. If you haven't heard about the anti-work community, it is a growing community of people that does not like to work. Why would they like to work? And I feel like this is a great story to send us off into the weekend. You might be looking at your screen going, the anti-work community is growing? Yeah, and it's huge. Massive. And I'll explain the entire story right after a quick word from our friends at Birch Gold. Do you have a savings? If you do, inflation took 7% of your savings away over the last year. Inflation is at the highest in 40 years. Ronald Reagan had to deal with inflation, and that was the last time we've seen anything this big. Ronald Reagan said something along the lines of, inflation is just as violent as a mugger. It'll steal every penny you have from your savings if you let the government do it. And the government is currently doing everything it can to sabotage the value of the US dollar. So what do? Well, you can invest in gold. And the best way to learn how to do that is by texting JOBOB to 989898, and our friends at Birch Gold will send you a no-risk, no-obligation, no-nothing information kit that teaches you everything you need to know about investing in gold. Do you have an IRA? Do you have a 401k? You can get those already pre-existing IRA and 401ks rolled into a gold-backed IRA. You can learn how to do that by texting JOBOB to 989898. Text Jobob, Jobob to 989898, and our friends at Birch Gold will send you a no-cost, no-obligation, no-nothing, risk-free packet that tells you everything you need to know to protect your savings. Friend to a friend, you need to do this. Text Jobob to 989898. Now to this. I think this is one of my favorite stories in a long time. I know a lot of you are probably looking at this chyron right here saying the growing anti-work community. Anti-work? What do you mean anti-work? Everybody has to work. Yeah, except for a bunch of people on the internet got together on Reddit, which is a posting forum social media site, and started this community of anti-work, and it grew to such a massive scale that Jesse Waters had the founder or one of the moderators of this anti-work community on his show yesterday, and we're going to play a couple clips right there. So just to lay this out quickly, Reddit is a forum. So back up even further than that. I heard a quote a couple years ago talking about the internet. What's the internet good for? Well, whose idea was it to get all of the idiots in the world in touch with all of the other idiots? Which I think is a hilarious circumstance, especially in this case. This Reddit group, right? If you're not familiar with Reddit, imagine just a big online group. This subreddit was called r/anti-work, and it was a group of people, who is anti-work. Well, what the heck does anti-work mean? You have to work to support yourself. There's no other way to do that. Yes, it is. So there's 1.7 million people on this site, and they go back and forth with well, we shouldn't be able to work because Jeff Bezos should be able to pay for everything, and the agriculture community and XYZ absolutely needs to be funding everything we do. And it grew to an outrageous proportion. It is astonishing how fast it grew. So much so that one of the moderators went on Jesse Waters. Now, this guy looks exactly like what you think he would look like. Actually, he might be, I think he's a they. I'm not sure. Clearly a 30-year-old man who goes by Doreen. I'm not sure if that's his given name or something going on there. But he was on Jesse Waters the other day, and it was hilarious. Jesse also was way nicer than I would have probably been. If you haven't already, click the little like button, click the little share button. It really helps us get to more people, and it helps us stay on the air, continue doing what we're doing. But also, your friends need to see this because I think it's hilarious. Here's this guy on Jesse Waters, the moderator of the anti-work community on Reddit.
Is like a good work day. How many hours is a solid work day in your ideal society?
Sure. I mean, I think as much as people want. I mean, I personally work. I have like a 25 hour work weeks, which I think is fairly good. So I would like less work hours.
And what do you do, Doreen?
I'm a dog walker.
A dog walker. Okay.
Yes.
And how?
So
how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure, I'm 30.
You're 30. Okay.
So that's just a short little clip. I've got another clip to play after that. But this guy says, well, I think people should be able to work whatever they want to work. I have a job. I work when I want to work, working 20 to 25 hours a week as a dog walker. And look, I'm not making fun of people who do that. But at the same time, you have to be aware that in a society in which you have to work to earn the right to live at a place, you can't be sustainable on that sort of income. Jesse Waters continues to go on to question this guy, and then it gets really funny. He asks him, what would you like to do? And oh boy. So after this clip, I'm gonna let you know the fallout and what happened after that, which is just so hilarious. Watch Jesse again.
And is there something you want to do besides being a dog walker? Do you aspire to do anything more than dog walking, or is that kind of your pinnacle?
I love working with dogs. If I had to do this for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be super complaining. Dogs are wonderful animals. But I would love to teach. I would love to, work with people and stuff like that.
What would you teach, Doreen?
Philosophy mostly.
Philosophy.
Just introduction to philosophy, critical thinking, reason, stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I would love to take your class, Doreen. I would just be taking notes the whole time. And you know what? A professor's a very similar schedule than something that you're imagining. So I think that actually might work perfectly for you. Listen, I think this might not be the greatest idea, but who am I to judge?
So Uncle Jesse asking, well, what would you like to do? It's like, I'd like to teach philosophy and critical thinking. However, I can't reason my way out of a paper bag, given the fact that I don't think that work is necessary. You saw the chyron there on Fox News. The Reddit post said, well, work is humiliating and pointless. We shouldn't need to work. That Amazon and Walmart will take care of all of us. So here's the fallout, what happened to this. So this aired, I believe, Wednesday afternoon or whenever Jesse's show airs on Fox. And then the Reddit community got entirely taken down by the moderators. It moved over to something else, but the reason was because all of the people in the community were mad at Doreen for going on Fox and misrepresenting who they are, which is hilarious because that guy is exactly who I thought they were. Kind of weird 30-year-old people who clearly have to either, one, live with their parents still, or two, get money from the government, but doesn't want to work more than 20 hours a week at his austere dog walking occupation, which again, this is nothing against dog walkers. I have no problem with them. And if they work hard, great. Welcome to society. But at the same time, I don't understand. This is a childish argument. Look, I tweeted this earlier, something along the lines of like, here's the thing that people don't understand. capitalism, there's no such thing as a need for a pro-capitalism argument. Capitalism is the natural state of being. The ability for humans to do or add something to society in exchange for value and then spending that value to keep themselves alive is the natural state of being of humanity. All of the other super utopian theories are what actually need to be defended, for which there are no real good arguments. So when you talk about quote unquote pro-capitalism, I don't even necessarily like that term because, like I said, capitalism is the natural state of being, the exchange of services and goods for other services and goods in order to stay alive in a society is how humans work. Any of your other utopian theories need to be defended in some way or another. And again, I don't think there's any good arguments for that. But again, the anti-work community is growing drastically among the population. Let me see. I want to get a couple comments. We've got a very special guest coming up on the usual Friday show, our cultural contributor. But before that, I got to tell you one more time about Birch Gold. Inflation stole 7% of your money last year, which is crazy. Inflation is at a 40-year high. And look, this is like friend to a friend thing. Just I think we're friends at this point. You come and watch, we interact and all that sort of stuff. As a friend, you need to get your money out of cash and into something that has been proven to hold its value, and that thing is gold. Literally since the dawn of the monetary system, dating back to ancient Greeks and ancient Romans, Romans, use your words. Gold has been used to hold value since the dawn of time, and it still does so today. So the best way you can protect your savings is invest in gold. You might be thinking, Jobob, I have no idea how to invest in gold. Well, good news. You can text JOBOB, Jobob to 989898, JOBOB to 989898, and get a free, no cost, no obligation, no risk, no nothing packet that tells you everything you need to know to start investing in gold. Because guess what? Investing in gold, buying gold, doesn't necessarily mean getting a truck, backing it up to your backyard, digging a hole and burying it so that nobody can find it. But you can do that. But instead, you probably have an IRA. You probably have a 401k. You can take those and roll them into a gold-backed IRA. And our friends at Birch Gold, which is an A+, Better Business Bureau rating, help thousands of people, can help you do that. So text JOBOB, Jobob to 989898. and invest in gold today to protect your savings. Without further ado, I got my friend Alex Spencer on. I'm going to talk about a bunch of the different things going on culturally, and I think this is fun. We're gonna try and do this every Friday. Kind of send us off into a nice weekend. So, without further ado, Alex, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm coming at you live from quarantine, Jobob. So I'm down with the good old bat flu.
Oh no, the CCP bat fever has gotten you.
Yes.
Oh no,
yep.
How are you feeling?
I was telling you before this that I'm a little worried about the brain fog I'm experiencing, but I'm even more worried now after the brain cells that I lost by watching your last segment. So it should be a fun little trial here today.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Actually, I don't appreciate that at all. I find it kind of hurtful, but I know it wasn't pointed towards me. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes,
just before
definitely
we get into things? Like, what is this anti-work community?
I don't know. I mean, I hear about this a lot. Like, I'm from Vermont, so I have a lot of communist liberal Facebook friends, and this is just kind of how they talk. They hate to work. They're very lazy. They like to complain. So they like to just be in their little bubble of people that's going to tell them, don't worry, hold out. We'll have communism soon, and you'll just garden and dog walk and not have to worry about a thing.
What I would say to Doreen is, dude, I'll give you all the time you need. Please craft a society in which your ideas work. Because guess what? I would not like to work either. I really enjoy what I do. But if I didn't have to do it, I'd probably do it a lot less. And I would imagine you're the same way. If you didn't have to work, would you bust your butt for how many hours a day? What are your thoughts?
Well, to me, it's just a matter of fulfillment. It's like, vacation gets boring eventually. Like, if you've taken a long enough vacation, you know that you're like, this is really nice. I love the beach. I love being able to relax. But like, do I want to do this every single day? And so they just want everybody to be as equally as miserable as them. They want to create this precedent that you don't have to work, that you don't have to do anything. And it really just comes down to laziness and just, I think, an underlying unhappiness for oneself and one's life. And I will say, when we talk about privilege, I will say that I feel very privileged that I am, not the Doreens of the world. So my heart goes out to them.
Oh, well, now you make me feel bad for making fun of them.
Feel bad, Jobob. You're horrible.
So we got a couple cultural stories. Alex, what do you have for me?
Okay, so first of all, Minnie Mouse is getting Hillary-fied. She's getting a makeover for Women's History Month in Paris, France. She is going to now be sporting a pantsuit instead of a polka dot dress. So as you can tell, she is taking the Hillary Clinton route of looking very drab and unlikable. This is really interesting to me because my first thought was, I wonder how their marketing team felt when they read the M&M story last week, because what was supposed to be this kind of triumph for women's history and women's empowerment quickly just became the second headline in less than a week about a cartoon character having their outfit changed just a little bit slightly to be less appealing in the name of progressivism. And for anybody who missed the show last week, M&M had a similar thing where they were like, we're reinventing our M&M cartoon characters for a new progressive world. And then you look into the story, and what it was basically they just changed the footwear. So the green M&M is now in sneakers. The brown M&M just has literally less of a difference in her heels than I couldn't even notice just by looking at it if I hadn't read the article about it. So I don't know what this push is to just reinvent these classic cartoon characters, just make them less appealing, less likable. I think it may be, transitioning us into, the no work world where everybody just looks the same, wears the same thing, classic commies.
So there's a picture. Some people listen to the podcast. So if you're listening to the podcast, there's a picture of Minnie Mouse in a polka dot pantsuit. But she's also Sandra brought up the comment. Why is Minnie holding a club? I don't know. What is that? Did they explain?
Because she had to raid a Nordstrom in order to get the pantsuit. That's probably what happened.
So Minnie Mouse lives in San Francisco area of California and can just go steal anything from a Nordstrom as long as she's got her club in hand.
Yeah, she's on the run in France. That's the backstory now. Women's empowerment.
That's great. And by great, I mean kind of terrifying. What else you got for me?
Okay, so in addition, another Disney story. So we have Peter Dinklage, are you a Game of Thrones fan?
I was a huge Game of Thrones fan from season 1 through 4. And then, solid. Yeah, it took a turn for the worst.
Okay, so Peter Dinklage, who, for those of you who don't know, has dwarfism. He's an actor. He is outraged
smart guy.
Disney. What?
He seems like a smart guy.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to tell me otherwise.
I thought you said short guy, and I was like, kind of a qualifying factor. But he is outraged at Disney because they are doing a new live action Snow White, and he called them out for being, saying that they're progressive since they cast a non-white lead as Snow White, but saying how he used some expletives backwards. This is because they are still depicting 7 dwarfs. So to give some background on Peter Dinklage and his acting history, Peter Dinklage played a dwarf in Narnia. He was in the movie Elf. He wasn't an elf, but there was a big joke. I'm sure everyone's seen Elf. Carol's character thinking he's an elf because of his dwarfism. In which one of my favorite lines of any movie, he's an angry elf. That's my favorite insult. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem appropriate to use it here. But he has had no problem throughout his career collecting money by taking on these types of roles that poke fun at his dwarfism. So whether that's right or wrong is another story. But for him to be outraged now about this just seems very out of place, a little bit hypocritical. Why can, you collect a paycheck for these things, but other actors won't have the ability to? He also was just in Avengers where he played a giant. So obviously he's fine taking roles from tall people. And so Disney, the funniest part of this is not that he's mad. People get mad at things all the time.
Yeah.
Whatever, not news anymore. Disney responded to this by saying that they're taking a new approach now to the dwarfs and that they are consulting members of the dwarf community to make sure that they're not reinforcing other stereotypes from the previous movies. And I don't know about you. I don't know if I'm just really out of the, dwarf jokes kind of world out there, but I don't really know a whole lot of stereotypes about dwarfs other than the fact that they are small. And so Disney was very, very crafty with the way that they described this, where they were saying, the way that they're going to be depicting these people.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see if we even end up with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or if it's Snow White and the 5'7" people.
So it was also interesting too. I saw there was I forget the guy's name, but a former WWE wrestler who's also a little person saying back to Peter Dinklage, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, it's hard enough to get jobs as it is, and now there's 7 lead roles in a movie that is going to be a big budget picture, and his work and his survivability, and you're going to try and give them to other people? Like, what are you doing?
No, everyone just cancels themselves. We've seen it so many times over and over again. This is what they do. I mean, it's the same thing with Neil Young. He was like, take Joe Rogan off of your platform, Spotify, or I'm out. And he just canceled himself. And so I don't know if they think it's going to happen, but yeah, it's taking roles away from people that I'm sure would be happy to act in the remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah, and so who knows? We'll see. Also, from a historical component, right? Snow White is based off of a very, very old historical tale of true events. Supposedly, I heard this on the radio the other day, where there's different mines. I believe it was in like Bulgaria, where people had to be very, very small to fit through the mines, and so that's where the whole Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs come from. Maybe even being historically accurate there, Peter Dinklage might have a problem with. So I guess we'll all see how that comes. Do you have any good news?
I actually do.
Off into the weekend with? Okay, cool.
I do for once, and it's not that Joe Biden just got a cat. That's another little news story. So it's not that. Although I'm sure that makes everyone else feel much more at ease about the impending Ukrainian conflict we had. That Joe Biden now has a cat.
Finally, a cat is in the White House.
That was the headline. The headline was finally has a cat.
Hold on.
Who was waiting?
I'm checking the inflation rates to see if they've gone down because of Catgate.
I'm sure. Very, very strong strategy there from our current White House administration. But yes, on a brighter note, Evangeline Lilly, who is one of my favorite actresses. Did you watch Lost?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. So I have now forgiven Evangeline Lilly for choosing her character Kate for choosing Sawyer over Jack in Lost, because she had an Instagram post where she announced that she was at the anti-mandate rally. She had this statement that said that she was an unvaxxed Democrat in support of medical freedom. And this is so important because we have these actors and actresses and sports people, athletes, if you will, who are coming out with their personal choice about getting the vaccine and just immediately getting canceled. And I think this is the at least largest depiction that we've had from somebody of such significance in pop culture saying, I'm on the other side of this issue, but I support your ability to make the decision for yourself. Her words were that she was pro-choice before, she's pro-choice now. And so she is willing to stand up while she's probably most definitely surrounded by people who are on the other side of this issue, who want to cancel everybody who makes the decision to not get the vaccine. And she's out there publicly at a rally and then publicly posting on her Instagram in support of this. This is huge for this movement because it really should not be partisan. It's a really, really unfortunate thing that this has been adopted so strongly by each side in such a polarizing way, because we should be in support of each other's ability to make the choice for themselves. I remember the days when the Democrats were the ones that didn't want, the government touching what they were doing, didn't want the government to have hands.
Yeah.
I mean, people make fun of conservatives for saying, well, you're only pro-choice now with the vaccine. And it's like, the reason that we're saying that is because we're calling on the hypocrisy that you guys have had by saying this over the years and then not standing up when people are getting forced to take this vaccine. And there's a huge difference, I think, too, between the government telling you that you can't do something and that you have to do something. To me, that's very dangerous. So good on Evangeline Lilly for standing up. I hope that this inspires a lot of people in the entertainment world, in the celebrity sphere, to do the same and to show you can be on the other side personally and still stand up for people's freedoms.
It's so interesting to see the shift. I was talking about this on the TPUSA couch about the shift from where liberals were in like the 60s and 70s to screw the CIA, screw the FBI, screw the CDC. All of those people are super against freedom. Right. And now going to, if you don't believe the CDC, you should go to jail, which is literally a poll that got taken a couple of weeks ago. So it's really interesting to see the cultural shift. Like looking back at the 60s and 70s with what the FBI was doing, COINTELPRO, all that sort of stuff, that makes me super uncomfortable. I would have been very against that then, probably being a super lefty Democrat at the time, and now going, wait, this is the same thing. How did we flip sides? Super interesting.
They're known for switching sides. We got the, good old party switch myth there, and it's just, I think it really comes down to the fact that they don't really internalize any of their opinions. I mean, that's the basis of the progressive movement, is that you just have to keep changing what you're doing or you cease to be progressive. And we know that they hold a lot of value in this idea of being progressive. That is all they have.
Totally. Hey, Alex, thanks so much for wrapping it up on a good note, I guess, to send people off into a weekend on a Friday.
I feel good about it.
Well, appreciate you coming on and talking about stuff. Looking forward to next Friday when all the wacky stuff about the week gets wrapped up into this short little bundle and send you off into a weekend on a high note.
Thank you for having me, Jobob. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too. That's going to do it for us. We will see you same time, same place, Monday morning right here, talking about all of the things that are happening around the country and around the world. Just in case you're wondering, Russia has not invaded Ukraine yet, to my knowledge. But if that happens over the weekend, we'll bring it to you. Let me see. If Joe Biden picks a Supreme Court justice, probably won't announce for several months. But in case he does, in case he tweets something late at night that he's unaware of, we'll bring that to you. Anything that happens over the weekend, we'll bring it to you. The Olympics are starting in just a week and a half now, I think, which is insane to me, but it is. And that's what we're doing. So we'll see you then. Have a great weekend. God bless America.